Venezuela. These are all OPEC countries. Now, mind you, brothers and sisters, hear what I'm about to tell you. Saudi Arabia by itself is the nation with the most deposits in United States banks. Saudi Arabia has the most investments in commercial real estate in this country. Saudi Arabia has the most investments in United States government securities. Now, how did the United States allow itself to get in this predicament? How did that happen? Well, you got to understand. Let's go back and let's do some history here. In 1973, the OPEC nations raised their prices some 400%. I don't know how many of y'all remember the gas crisis back then. Now, you got to understand, money started, falling in on them people because we paid the prices. The oil, their income soared from $29 billion in 1973 to $100 billion in 1974. Oil that sold for $2.59 a barrel in 1973 was suddenly selling for $10.95 in 1974. Now compare $10.95 in 1974 to today. Imagine how much higher it is now. You don't have to, if you don't know what that, just compare your gas and heating bill today to what it used to be. Now, with such a windfall in billions of dollars, these Arabs didn't know what to do with their money. They're sitting around meeting, what shall we do with our money? So guess who ran to their aid? The United States government. The United States, because of their greed, said, we'll tell you what to do with it. Put it in our banks. The United States rushed over and talked them into putting it in their banks, and suddenly, banks that used to be nationally minded are now called international banks. And they became internationally minded. And with this lust for money and their newfound pot of gold at the end of the Arab rainbow, the big banks urged the United States government, now follow this thing, people, the big banks told the United States government, don't oppose OPEC. Don't fight it. They want to raise their prices, don't y'all say nothing. Let the people complain, but y'all better not complain. Yeah, buddy. Oh, people, this thing is deep. By 1985, the Arab oil-producing bloc of nations had, now notice I said, by 1985. By 1985, the oil-producing countries had deposited $1 trillion in United States Bank. This is 2001. Now here's the problem, y'all. The concentration of wealth in the hands of a few big banks in the United States, whose ultimate power is or may be held by Middle East nations, spells control. Dig this, as I told you, 90% of OPEC's oil money has been handled by 6 banks in the United States. Now, when I say this, it's going to really blow your mind. 6 banks in the United States have handled over 90% of OPEC's oil money, and 5 of those banks is in New York. And where you think those 5 banks are? World Trade Center facility. Making sense now? See, here's the problem, people. This is the type of control that determines who's going to become the president of this country. It ain't your vote. I'm trying to tell you that. Y'all run out here and getting upset because they ain't counting your vote. If they did count it, it wouldn't matter. They're going to do what they want to do anyhow. This is the type of control that sets and determines the limits of power. This is the kind of control that could strip away any limits of power and make possible a dictatorship. This is the kind of control that's paving the way for a new world order and also a new marking system, which the book of Revelation calls the mark of the beast. Now, if you just look back in history a little bit, you can get an inkling of what I'm talking about. What happens when an oil-producing company decides to withdraw their money from the United States? Well, in the fall of 1978, now mind you, it didn't happen. It was just rumored that it was going to happen. Somebody put out the rumor that Kuwait was getting ready to withdraw $2 billion from the United States. Well, if they had done that, it would have caused the stock market to crash and all that kind of mess. Such a withdrawal would have caused financial panic in this country. And the administration of that day, and by the way, the president at that time was a man known as James Earl Carter. Y'all know him as Jimmy Carter. James Earl Carter, President Jimmy Carter, check this, people, quickly bought up $30 billion worth of dying US dollars on the world market in order to stabilize our predicament. That's why these presidents leave office with such gray hair. When it turned out that Kuwait was not withdrawing its money, it was only a rumor. The rumor touched off near financial disaster in this country. On November 14, 1979, Iran announced, what country did I just say? Iran announced that it was going to pull its billions of dollars from the United States. Same president, President Jimmy Carter, acted quickly, and guess what Jimmy Carter did, y'all? He declared a national emergency. Now, why did he do that? Follow this. Jimmy Carter, when Iran announced it was pulling its money out of the United States banks, Jimmy Carter declared a national emergency. And you know why he did that? Because the only way that he could freeze Iran's assets, we had to be in a national emergency. Y'all getting this picture now? You can't just go freeze somebody's assets. You have to be in a national emergency to do that. So now here, OPEC, not just Iran, but OPEC period, is saying we're taking our money out of the United States. If they did that, this country would shut down. Everything would stop. Your lights would go, this whole country would shut down. And I'm going to tell you why the country would shut down. Because this country, is in debt to something called the Federal Reserve. I'll teach on that in another lecture in a couple of weeks. Help you understand that that green stuff you got in your pocket is not money. It's a note. It actually says it across the top. Federal Reserve note. I'll teach on that later. So you understand, you can see how big oil controls big banks and how the two in concert will control the United States economy, and not only the economy, the elected leaders as well. Just for the sake of research, y'all don't have to take my word for what I'm saying. Write this down. Write this down. Write this word. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Now see, how many of y'all remember Desert Storm? Okay, I don't know if y'all ever thought about it, but how in the world are we going to get oil from arid countries if we're at war with them? So what the United States did is they created this entity called Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That is the oil that we have, or this country has, in reserve while the Arabs and us ain't getting along. While OPEC and us ain't getting along. So that, y'all understand what I'm saying? And of course the prices are very, very, very high, because that's reserve. And we have to be careful how we use it. Write this down. Al Gore. Have y'all ever heard of him before? Al Gore and big oil companies. Go to the internet and look it up. Let me tell you what you're going to find right off the bat. The Gore family empire. What did I just say? Gore family. See, people, it ain't about just Al Gore running for president. The Gore family empire holds about $500,000 worth of stock in this company called Occidental Petroleum Corporation. That's why Al Gore wanted to be president. Al Gore wanted to be president because if we had elected him president, yeah, he would say to all of these oil OPEC, y'all get out of here. I got my own oil company. Protocols of the Wise Men of Zion, referred to in the 1700s, talked about this thing. In protocol number 2, it states, and I quote, "The administrators," check this out people, "whom we shall choose from among the public, with strict regard to their capacities for servile obedience, will not be persons trained in the arts of government, and will therefore easily become pawns in our game in the hands of men of learning and genius, who will be their advisors, specialists bred and reared from early childhood to rule the affairs of the world." That's protocol number 2 of the Protocols of Zion. How do they manage to get such control over the elected officials? Well, you got to understand something. There's an elite power group. Everybody say Committee of 300. I'm going to send y'all on a research project, okay? I'm going to send y'all on research. Don't just stand up and take my word for this. Y'all go do what I did. Do some homework. Write that down, Committee of 300. Write it down. Pull it up and go read about them. Write down this word, Bilderbergers. Write it down, the Bilderbergers. Go see the influence of the Bilderbergers. That's Bilderbergers. Council on Foreign Relations. Y'all ever hear that? Why y'all think they talking about sending Jesse over to talk to these people? You gotta understand something, brothers and sisters. Jesse Jackson is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. He's not just a black man. Somewhere along the line, he lost his focus for African liberation. There was a time when Jesse had an afro with a dashiki standing there talking about black power. Now he done became a member of their program. I pray to God prevent that from happening to me. I'm serious. I mean it. See, you know what happens? People like myself, what they do is they look into your background. And if you got any dirt in your closet, they'll come to you and say, listen, here's what we got on you. Now, you either work for us and do what we want you to do, or we're going to expose you. If you don't have your dirt in your closet, you know what they do? Then they come to you and try to buy you. They come to you and offer you a cabinet position somewhere, or an ambassadorship in some country that don't even exist. Have you walk around, see, that's what happened with Andy Young. I don't know if y'all remember this. See, soon as they killed Martin Luther King, next thing they did was made Andrew Young an ambassador.